Stephen William Hawking was born on January 8, 1942 in Oxford, England at the height of World War II, exactly 300 years after the death of the father of astronomy, Galileo. Stephen Hawking grew up in a family of educated individuals. Both of his parents had university degrees. His father, Frank, was a medical researcher, and his mother, Isabel, worked as a research secretary in the medical field. Therefore, education was highly valued in his family, including for Stephen himself. However, as a child, Stephen was not a brilliant student. He could not even read properly until the age of 8. Despite his average performance in school, there was something about him that his teachers recognized. They knew that deep within Stephen was a hidden genius. He never had a particular interest in a school or schooling. He was more fascinated by what was happening outside and spent most of his time inventing new things. When Stephen was in a school, his friends nicknamed him Einstein. By the age of 14, he knew he wanted to become a physicist because, by studying physics, he could answer the questions that he and his friends had. Where did living beings come from? Why are we here? Where are we going? At 17, he went to Oxford University to study physics and chemistry. It's hard to believe, but when Stephen was in university, he was incredibly lazy, spending at most just 1 hour a day on his university work. However, despite this, he passed his exams with very high marks. According to him, his first year at university was very boring. He said, "I'm not proud of it. I'm just describing my behavior at that time. A behavior that most of my classmates shared. Boredom and apathy were worth the effort." After graduating from Oxford University, he was accepted for his doctorate at Cambridge University. Stephen went to Cambridge University to continue his studies in cosmology, but shortly after, he began to experience some physical abnormalities. His speech became unclear, he was clumsy, and he often fell. At first, Stephen didn't pay much attention to his condition, but his situation rapidly worsened. During this time, he met his future wife, Jane Wilde. However, after undergoing a series of tests, it was diagnosed that he was in the early stages of ALS, or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, a disease that unfortunately causes part of the brain responsible for controlling muscles to stop working. This disease gradually paralyzes people, and over time, patients can barely walk, talk, swallow, or even breathe without assistance. According to his doctors, Stephen had only 2 years left to live. At the age of 21, when doctors gave him this news, something shifted in Stephen. Now that he was faced with the possibility of an early death, he decided not to be lazy anymore and to use his precious time to make a difference in the world. Therefore, he devoted his entire life to work. He even became more optimistic and married Jane on July 14, 1965, and they soon had 3 children. Stephen said, "When you're faced with an early death, you realize that life is worth living and there are many things you want to do. Anger over my disabilities is a waste of time. You have to keep living, and I haven't had a bad life. If you're always angry or complaining, no one will have time for you." Early in their marriage, Jane helped Stephen think positively a lot. However, the two separated in 1995, and one of the main reasons for this separation was religion. Jane was a committed Christian and Stephen was an atheist. He had said that life after death is a fictional story for those who fear death. I have rapidly mentioned that the brain is like a computer. When it cannot function, it stops working. There is no heaven or afterlife for broken computers. There are fairy tales for those who are afraid of dark. Over the years, Stephen Hawking became one of the most recognized, unique, and admired scientists in history. His incredible research on black holes and the origin of the universe changed the way we think about science. A turning point in Hawking's career occurred when he attended a lecture by mathematician Robert Penrose. Considering Penrose's words and using mathematician in the world of black holes, he publishes his most important paper. In this paper, he discusses the relationship between black holes and the laws of thermodynamics. He shows that black holes eventually evaporate through the radiation predicted by virtual particle pairs formed at the event horizon, now known as Hawking's radiation. The joint paper by Hawking and Penrose, published in 1970, proves that if general relativity is correct and the universe contains as much matter as we observe, the Big Bang singularity must have occurred in the past. Stephen Hawking has written many books, but his most famous book, A Brief History of Time, has sold over 25 million copies. In July 1985, Stephen was in Geneva when he had difficulty breathing. After going to the hospital, he underwent a tracheotomy operation. The surgery was successful, but during it, Stephen lost his voice. The new challenge was how Stephen could communicate with his colleagues and students. But fortunately, a software engineer named Walt Waltos gave him the famous robotic voice. In the 1990s, his attention turned to time travel. He said, "We can't rule out the possibility of time travel because it hasn't been proven otherwise so far. Anything is possible unless it is proven otherwise." In 2012, he said that experimental evidence shows that time travel is unlikely. But once he threw a party for time travelers and sent the invitation after the party has ended. He waited for a long time, but no one showed up. Stephen is one of the most inspiring people in the world. He had an incredible determination and a strong desire to live. He did not let his disease become an obstacle for him. It didn't matter how hard life was or how impossible or unattainable his goals seemed. For Hawking, giving up was never an option. Despite everything, he proved that these doctors were wrong, and he miraculously lived more than 55 years after being diagnosed, passing away at the age of 76. Stephen Hawking may be physically disabled, but not mentally or spiritually. He had excellent advice for living a happy life. Remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet. Never give up on work and your goal. Work gives you meaning and purpose, and life is empty without it. And if you're lucky enough to find the love of your life, remember that love exists and don't throw it away. Try to understand what you see and ask yourself how the universe exists. Be curious, and no matter how difficult life may seem, remember that there is always something you can do and succeed. The important thing is never to give up. Be brave, be determined, and overcome the odds. All these are possible. As long as there is life, there is also hope. Finally, Stephen Hawking passed away on March 14, 2018 at his home in Cambridge. His ashes were buried in Westminster Abbey in London, near the graves of Isaac Newton and Charles Darwin. The inscription on his tombstone reads, "Here lies what was left of Stephen Hawking, 1942 till 2018. Additionally, his recorded voice along with the binary file was sent by one of these space transmitters to a black hole. Thanks for staying with me till the end of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and also please turn on the notification bell. See you all in the next video. Take care. Bye.